welcome back to Conversion Zoo, or welcome if this is your first time. Today I'm here with John from Drop Dead Copy. We're going to talk about AI and marketing, some of the cool things ChatGPT does, not just in the marketing context, but in maybe it's your therapist, maybe it's your personal trainer, your gym coach. We're going to talk about all those things. So welcome, John. How's John today?
John's okay. John's alive. John is still breathing.
Always good. Always good. And for people who don't know, whereabouts are you based, John?
I'm based in South America, in Peru, a little way outside of Cusco, down in a place called the Sacred Valley of the Incas. If you follow the valley all the way down, it will take you to Machu Picchu, which is the famous ruins, one of the wonders of the world. I think that everyone knows. Everyone gets their photo there. So that's still a couple hours away from where we are, but that's the area.
Nice. And I probably should have mentioned at the start, but John's actually my brother. Just in case everybody's wondering, we actually live together in Peru.
I wasn't sure whether to say that. I'm like, are we trying to play this off like we're different people? It's your podcast. No. So then I'm like, okay, if we're doing that, yeah, we literally live in the same house. Well, on the same property. We have different buildings that with another Australian guy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
pretty sweet.
We are brother and sister indeed.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Well, I guess, like I mentioned before we started recording, that I just wanted to talk about, like kind of AI marketing, ChatGPT, maybe some different prompts or different things that you've been using it for. But for people who maybe don't know, how did you get into marketing in the first place? What made you up and quit your job and move overseas to the Philippines? For people who haven't heard that story.
I mean, that was not even really at that point, I guess it was marketing. I mean, if you're trying to sell anything at all, there is marketing involved. I did move to the Philippines. I got a job, sort of an internship doing the marketing for a beach resort there. So I was a couple of different resorts that I was working for, but living at the resort in exchange for making sure they ranked in Google, which I'd done a bit of search engine optimization and marketing before that. But it was about a year into that when I actually discovered the world of copywriting, which is where I really started to think about marketing and how if I could learn how to sell, if I could learn how to get someone to buy something with just my words, there would always be an opportunity. There would always be a way to make money because everyone everywhere always needs money on some level, whether it's a recession, whether it's everything's booming, everyone always wants to make more money. So it was that's where it really kicked in. And I mean, at the time, I probably would have said I fell in love with it, But yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, it's a cool place. I remember visiting and what was it called? Bad Lads. It was such a
Bad Lads. Sean Cooney, the guy, he would always say that. He's like, I was going to call it very kind and nice and well-behaved lads, but then no one would turn up. So I called it Bad Lads.
Yeah. No, I like it. And yeah, I mean, it's really cool that you took that leap and just seeing what opened up after that and, here we are, almost 15 years later. It's pretty cool, way to live life. So, okay. And guess in terms of copywriting being your kind of main focus or forte, what are some of the ways you're using ChatGPT or AI at the moment in your marketing strategy or copywriting strategy?
I mean, everything from, anytime there's words involved, if we're talking marketing specific, if it requires words, which means social media, carousels, videos, reels, emails, YouTube videos, thumbnails. So I use it for anytime there's words involved. I'll use ChatGPT. Sometimes I've got an idea. I don't always come from scratch. So, hey, write an email about X. I usually come in with a bit more context, who I'm writing for, what the story is. When there's a little bit more information, I usually get better results. I'll use it for idea generation. I don't usually go in and just say, write a carousel about this. It'll be like, let's focus on curiosity-based hooks that open a loop. Give me 30. I'll pick my 2 or 3 favorite ones. And then I'll be like, okay, now turn this into a carousel. It's probably ChatGPT is getting better as well as I'm getting better at knowing what to say, how to prompt it to get whatever it is that I want out of it, whether it's an email or but yeah, basically anytime there's words involved, idea generation, strategy, Pretty much everything. I think I go to it for just about everything. It doesn't mean I use what I get verbatim exactly as it gives it to me, but it's at the very least it's an assistant that I work with on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's great. Like I'll be like wandering around the house and I'll hear you on your phone and I think you're on the phone or sending a voicemail to a friend and you're just voice messaging ChatGPT. It's just great. I mean, I do it too. It's yeah, kind of become like the same thing, like a bit of an assistant, or I mean, search engine feels a bit limiting in a sense of what ChatGPT can do with all of the, like whether it's, like even today, I was just before we hopped on, I was doing the gym and I was just sort of, asking it questions about, different workout styles and weights and, different carb amounts and all of that sort of thing. So and then we use it for therapy or ideas. Yeah, it's super interesting. Just for me, like it's almost like the only kind of limit that I can sort of think of at this point is the idea, like in terms of if I give it a prompt, it can create, to some degree or to a large degree, like what I ask it. So then it's like, okay, well, like, how can I ask better questions or how can I get better at prompt writing? So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me like everyone has access to it. So if everyone has access to it, there's no advantage in ChatGPT itself. It's knowing, to me, it's like I think about it like it's knowing what you want and then knowing how to articulate that. Because you could have an idea of what you want, but if you can't explain it, ChatGPT is not going to be able to do it for you. So it's kind
Yeah.
of what you're saying, where it's like that to me is the skill or the meta skill or one of the most important skills probably as we go into this new AI age, is that knowing what you want and then knowing how to explain it in a way that it understands. Which it's hard because it's a fucking robot, like it's not a human being, and so it
Yeah.
has some idiosyncrasies, I guess. Which some
Mm.
of them I think you just learn by interacting with it. Like there's no real you can buy a course, you can watch a video, listen to a podcast like this, but at the end of the day, you'll learn the most just by using it as much as possible and getting to know, okay, well, if I explain it this way, it'll, work in a certain way. If I explain it that way, it'll work differently. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I find too, like, if I give it like a really long block of text in a prompt, like I think we were talking about this the other day, it can get confused. Whereas if you sort of just do kind of like one or two questions kind of per prompt or, being hyper specific and hyper detailed with kind of what you're wanting. And again, like it's coming back to like, yeah, how do you communicate what it is that you want in a succinct way to get the result you want? Yeah, it's like you said, just playing around with it and figuring out what works. And yeah, I think that's the best way to learn, honestly, is just to go in and have a play and try it. And something I've really, really enjoyed using it is that it keeps all your conversation history. So then, it kind of knows what you're looking for over time, which can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on what your goal is. I know some people turn that feature off, but I think it's really cool because then I don't have to re-explain everything. And then, it even starts writing in your own kind of voice and style. And yeah, it's sort of this honing of like customizing basically ChatGPT to fit whatever you want it to. What is some sort of go-to ChatGPT prompts in terms of like marketing or copywriting? Like, is there anything specific you use? I know we sort of talked about like you could say like, oh, like can you write in the style of Joe Rogan, or could you write in the style of J.K. Rowling, or whichever author you want the copywriting to sound like, just to give you kind of ideas. Yeah, there's sort of any go-to kind of hacks or prompts that you find yourself reusing?
Not really. I mean, I don't like, I've never bought a packet of prompts on Instagram or wherever they sell them. For me, it's just been, I mean, I'd say similar things, but it's always, I'm not using like a copy paste prompt. That's never how it works for me. It's always like, it's always an iterative cycle. So like, it's like, I'll be like, I don't know, let's say I want some carousels. Today I was making carousels for a client. So let's say I want some carousels. I'm like, okay, um, my process for that would be get a transcript of the video, right? Let's say it's a video that the client wants. So it's a video on, could be anything. I'll take the video though, get a transcript, which is pretty easy to find online. There's free YouTube transcript generators. Take that, drop that into ChatGPT, and then say, analyze the attached file, or read the attached file and give me 30 carousel ideas. Sometimes I'll do 30 email ideas because sometimes it approaches an email differently to the way it approaches a carousel. It will give me ideas, and then I'll usually pick my favorite, or I will ask for another 30 ideas. Or if the first batch of ideas is a bit like, this is what I mean, like I can't give you like here's one prompt. If you just use this single prompt, it'll just give you
Yeah.
gold every time. It's like, give me some ideas
The
based
steps
on
to
this
success.
article.
Yeah.
Right. And then based on the ideas, like sometimes the ideas are like I was looking for I was scrolling on Instagram. I'd go look up a hashtag for this client. I'd be scrolling through looking at the different posts that people have shared and noticing that, okay, a lot of it's like, you know, a lot of it's the curiosity based or open loop based. So it might be
Mm-hmm.
like, this is why you can sleep. This is why you can sleep 8 hours every night and still feel tired when you wake up in the morning. And then there's an arrow. So it's like you read that and you're like, oh, why is that? I'm going to read the next thing. So it's the title, opens a loop, we might say in marketing. So I noticed there's a ton of that stuff on Instagram. So I go back to ChatGPT, and maybe the first 30 ideas are not really like that. They're just using, I don't know where it gets the titles from. So I'm like, I want these curiosity based open loop ideas. And I might give a few examples. And I'll be like, notice how, I might even use a voice message for this, but I'd be like, notice how each of these titles opens a loop. Like it's not answered in the title. You have to read the next slide and the next slide to get the answer. So then it might give me some more titles, another 30 titles. But then I think today, so I did that, gave me a whole bunch of titles. I'm like, these are too sort of high level or general, they're too vague. So I remember asking it, make them more specific. So instead of having a high level thing of, hey, this is what anxiety feels like, it could drill in and go, this is why you wake up at 2 a.m. and you can't sleep or can't fall back to
Right.
sleep. So now it's a specific example. So this is what I mean about like, it's really knowing what the hell do you want? Like, especially with marketing too, like I think there's still absolutely a reason to learn marketing, to study marketing, whether it's books, courses, studying advertising, because that's going to give you the ability to explain what you want, to know what an open loop is, for example, to know that curiosity is a really powerful thing say on social media, to recognize that, to be then to be able to explain that to ChatGPT. So for me, yeah, there's not like one prompt. It's this iterative, dynamic, back and forth brainstorming approach. And then usually if I get to the point where I'm like, this idea is great, then I'll be like, write this carousel based on this idea. And then I'll use the idea. Maybe I tweak a little bit. And the response that comes out is usually today actually was pretty good, pretty solid. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. Like, I remember talking to my friend who is also a copywriter and does email marketing, and we were just talking about it. And, because obviously when ChatGPT and AI first came out, I mean, probably people still feel like this, but it's this sense of, oh, everybody's going to lose their jobs. All of these marketers and copywriters are out of a job. Obviously, anyone who's used ChatGPT or knows anything about marketing knows that's not true. And so we were just talking about how now it's kind of shifting from like being like the person that writes everything into like more of like a curator or a strategist, or like the role, I think, of the copywriter or marketer is changing, because now we have access to these new tools like ChatGPT or different AI programs to help us with idea generation or with writing or what have you. So it can really change the process, make it much more dynamic, make it faster, more efficient. We get better results. You can test new things. Like it's becoming like you said at the start, like an assistant where you can keep iterating ideas and keep brainstorming, which I think ultimately makes people better marketers and better copywriters, because you're not just limited to your own idea generation, which for me, like, sometimes it can get you hit like a roadblock of, oh, like the ideas. Whereas if someone can give me 10 or 20 ideas, I'm like, yeah, that's good, that's terrible, and it becomes much more about that, like that strategy and that curating. And like you said, knowing what good marketing is or good copywriting is versus what's not good. So yeah, it's interesting.
there's something about like the brainstorming, like the riffing. That's why I love the
Yeah.
voice messages. I mean, I love to like, it's easier to talk like this on a podcast or in a video or whatever it is, or into a voice message in the chat, into G, as a friend of ours, I think, calls him.
G.
Um, but
GG.
yeah, I'll just riff, like I'll just talk. The danger, I think, this goes back to something you said earlier, where it's like, if I don't think, because I asked ChatGPT about this, is like, is it, are short prompts better than long prompts, or is it more if prompts are confusing? Like if there's multiple key ideas, like I'm like, oh, make this email short, but also make it long. make it tight and punchy, but make it really like, kind and gentle as well. It was saying like that when you give it conflicting advice, it doesn't know, probably like a human being, doesn't know which thing to follow. So then you get a very sort of confused, convoluted output, which I think is probably can be a risk with, especially voice messages where it's easy just to ramble. But I do like it, that brainstorming of like, what about this? And then it says something back. And then I go, oh, that's really cool. That then stimulates my own thinking. And then I send something back and we go back and forth. That's what I mean
Like
about that iterative back and forth brainstorming thing. That to me is where the best ideas come from. It's not you go to ChatGPT and you type in, write me an email about X. If it sells this widget, sells this water bottle I'm selling, you're not going to get very far. So in my experience.
I find the same. It's almost like it's not like it doesn't have to be a one-sided, do this, please, do that, like give me this. It's, for me, it's the fun is like, oh, like how would you approach this, from scratch? Or what angle would you think? Or can you find any holes in my strategy or my thinking? Is this just confirmation bias? What, like asking it questions, and then it can give you like, different angles to take in marketing, or, have you thought about this or this or this? And it's actually really good, because then, it's not limited by like the prompt you put in. It's like open-ended. So it might give you completely new angles to approach something, or you might be like, like out of these different marketing strategies or these different copywriting styles, like, what do you think is the best? Is there another thing that I'm completely missing? And really, like, I think we got it from your friend, but asking it to be like totally blunt, totally honest, and giving like critical feedback, and really trying to like almost like a tough love or a sort of thing. I think you sent me an article about that. I haven't read it, but really like asking for this honest feedback and getting it to poke holes in, the idea or the marketing to make it stronger, which I think is really cool.
100%. Yeah, I mean, that's well, you mentioned it earlier, like you're only really limited by your creativity, like your ability to think of something to ask it, whether it's like you said, ask it, poke holes in my argument, is this confirmation bias, tell me why I'm wrong, find my blind spots, like that. Or, David Deutsch, who I did this bundle with recently, he's I don't know if he came up with it, but his idea that he mentioned was like, if you go through that iterative thing and you spend, say, 10 messages back and forth to get what you want, then you can say after that, you go, look, this is great, but it took 10 messages. How can we get here sooner next time? How can I prompt you better so we can get here in 2 messages instead of 10? And it will explain, okay, well, here's what you need to do next time. So
that's cool.
It's pretty cool that, like, yeah, you're only really limited by your ability to think of what can you ask. That's why it's almost like the AI won't drive itself. I guess if at that point it'll just take over the world. We're not at that point yet. So for the time being, we need to drive the thing. So like any tool, I guess, the tool's only as good as the person using it.
Right. And what it's being used for as well. Like, you could use a spanner to knock someone out, or, hit through a wall, or to build something, or to take a thing off a car. Like, it really depends on the application. So, like, I think we were talking about this yesterday as well. I saw someone post on LinkedIn about a new AI app that allows you to generate a very realistic looking receipt for tax purposes, and just kind of some of the different applications of that. And then I know you mentioned there was another application of, I think it was more like an identity feature where you can explain it, but yeah, just kind of seeing like, yeah, like it is a tool and it can be used for good or bad, or just different applications. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens as the space gets more mainstream, because obviously it's still fairly new for a lot of people. My uncle even the other day was like, what's SEO? So there's definitely like different, uptake of it in society, especially if people aren't in like an information industry. They're probably like, what's ChatGPT? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah. Who knows? I don't think everyone speculates. Who knows where it's all going? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Nice. If someone someone say listening to this and they're like, oh, I want to get started with AI, in their business, whether that's a marketing business or, a regular AI automation business, or, something else, like, what would you tell them? How could they get started? We sort of maybe touched on like just going and trying. ChatGPT, obviously, and even different AI tools. I mean, my favorite at the moment is ChatGPT. But yeah, what kind of advice would you tell somebody who wants to get started?
I mean, that would be the place to start, is get, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, DeepSeek, like one of these LLMs. I have to say it slowly because otherwise I'll trip over my words. LLMs. Get one of these things, right? It's like a little chatbot, and start playing with it. And I mean, everyone sends emails, so you could practice using it. Like Google's got one that's built into Gmail or Google Workspaces you could use, called Gemini. But you could write out an email. Let's say you write an email to a client, because everyone's going to write an email. Client, customer, someone on the team. You have to write an email. Let's say it's 3 or 4, I don't know, sentences, paragraphs, whatever. Just before you send it, take that email and copy it into the LLM, whichever one, whatever. The LLM is the chatbot. Copy it into the chatbot and just say, before you do, you might say something like, improve this email, make sure it sounds friendly and professional, colon, and then you paste your email in, and then it will refine and edit and improve the email that you pasted in. Now, your email might have been fine to the team because you might have been doing this for a long time, but that would be like a really easy way to, if you haven't used it at all, to start to play around with it, to start to see what it can do. You'd be like, oh, that actually polished it up a little bit. I don't do that for all my emails. I do it occasionally. It depends how important it is and how, I guess, complicated it feels like to get right. But then might be beyond that. Like, you could use it. It's really just, however, how do you want to use it? If you're posting on social media, you could probably speed things up on there. I'll use it with YouTube videos, emails to the list, newsletter emails, sales pages, ads. Anytime there's words, you could use one of these tools. There's, you can get more, complicated with it. You can get transcripts made. You can plug into something like Zapier and start like chaining different actions all together that go through the AI.
Doing
but that's probably a bit
automations.
more advanced. Yeah. And then you've got AI agents, which I haven't gone too deep into yet. But yeah, that would be a way to start. A way to start dipping your toe in the water, starting to get a feel for it, starting to understand how they work, and then gradually just starting to use that more and more in your life. And like we talked about, you were using it in the gym almost as like a personal trainer to ask it about carbs, nutrition, workout plans. I do exactly the same thing. Like, it's sort of made my workouts go a bit longer because I'll be thinking of stuff while I'm working out. Like, what about this? What about this?
What
Therapy,
if I change
dating,
this?
food.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What happens if I do this? So to
Mm-hmm.
me now, it's sort of just like an assistant. It's not, at least the version I've got, it's not an assistant to the extent I can be like, go buy me some plane tickets to blah, blah, blah. It'll probably be that, probably not very far off, to be honest. But right now it is, it's like a therapist, coach, copywriting assistant. I use ChatGPT. I never would have thought this, but I use ChatGPT far more than I use Google now. There's
Mm-hmm.
no, like Google, problem with Google, you go search for something, everything's so SEO optimized now that someone's got like a 3,000 word blog post. All I really need to read is like one paragraph. But because of how
Mm-hmm.
Google's algorithm works, someone's written a 2 or 3,000 words thing. The thing that I really want is buried halfway down the page. I have to go looking for it. It's probably surrounded by ads. It's a pain in the ass. Like, it's just friction. Whereas I can go to ChatGPT and ask that same question and it will give me just the information that I want. So it's more efficient. There's no ads because you pay a subscription to access it. There's a free plan, but it's just better. So who would have thought that like something would come along that would take away Google's dominance? But it seems like it's happening. We're in the middle of it right now.
Right. It's a pretty cool thing to watch, because I've got clients who I do SEO for, obviously, in different things and blogs, and I think the real benefit at the moment with SEO is, well, for the clients I work with, is more the local SEO, so Google Maps and that. But yeah, it's just changing, and the thing is too is that, I mean, I researched this with ChatGPT, obviously, like everything else, but the ChatGPT, like if someone say went to ChatGPT and was like, oh, I want to find a marketer or an accountant or a doctor or something, they can go into ChatGPT and search for that. And then ChatGPT uses quite similar algorithmic stuff to Google. So, if you have good SEO, if you have good backlinks and good reviews and all of this sort of stuff, then you're going to be more likely to shop in ChatGPT anyway, which is really good, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. But yeah, it's it's really cool. Like I much prefer it to, especially like when you get these really long form blog posts, and you're just like, where is this information? Whereas, yeah, you go into ChatGPT, and even like, I've been using it for asking ChatGPT, okay, like where do you think AI is going, or how can I future proof myself against AI, or how could I start a business, doing AI or AI automation, or like what have you, like rather than kind of freaking out and just doom scrolling or whatever. It's like going in and asking ChatGPT, like, what do you think about this? And, what can I do today to like future proof myself kind of thing? Where is the space going? What are some cool ways you can use AI or ChatGPT that most people don't realize, rather than, yeah, thinking that I know everything and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to use it for this. It's like, I mean, we're always learning, talking to your friends as well and different marketers about different applications of using AI and automations, and just, yeah, the limit really being the idea and the application of it, which is really cool. Yeah. Nice. So it's always funny when like no, like the person doesn't like respond with follow up.
Sometimes
I'm
it feels
like,
like there's something to say, and sometimes I'm like, well, I don't.
did you
Nothing's coming
say
to mind.
everything?
Yeah, you said it all.
Said it all. Um, yeah, like do you have, I mean, I know the answer to this, but your favorite AI tool, like have you, like if, I mean, I know you like ChatGPT, but are there any other sort of AI tools that you really like using? Yeah.
Not really. I tried Claude, because some people were. I recently did a promotion with some other marketers, copywriters, and interviewed people, and one of them, maybe a couple of them, were using Claude, and I was like, I'll try it out. People say it's better for writing. I get in there and do my standard 5 minute voice message or whatever I did 5 6 minute voice message, thinking, oh, this would be great. And then I wouldn't fucking transcribe that shit because like, oh, it's too long, too many characters, something like there's some problem like that. I'm like, what? You let me record the voice message, but then you won't let me like send it to you to prompt you. Like that was a joke. That was a waste of time. I'm out. So that was because I'm so into sending voice messages. Oh, it'll be 6 7 8 minutes sometimes 10 minutes. I think rarely 10 minutes, but ChatGPT can handle it. It'll transcribe that stuff in so fast. If it's a long one, it might take 30 seconds or a minute, but so quickly. And there's never been any issue with, oh, there's too many characters in this. Whereas I tried Claude once and I'm like, yep, if you can't deal with this voice message, ChatGPT does it seamlessly. If Claude can't do it, I'm like, I can't be bothered. The voice message thing is like a key feature, a core feature for me that I use every single day throughout the day. So for me, it's ChatGPT right now. I've played with Zapier. I've got a transcription like Zap that works where I drop an MP3 into a folder and Zapier grabs that, uploads it somewhere, takes it to ChatGPT, gets it transcribed, then turns it into something else and puts it into Google Docs. It's a whole thing. So I've used that, but that's the only time I've done that. Mostly it's just ChatGPT. On my list has been to check out AI agents, but when I've
Yep.
looked at the software right now, there's just not any use cases I think that I need for the time being. That'll change over time, but yeah, I'm just not there yet.
Yeah. No, I think that the automation piece is pretty cool. Like doing, like whether it's Zapier or I used make.com, which is just the same thing. Like, you say if this, then that. And yeah, like I tried it for blog post writing and I found it was a bit too convoluted. I know someone else who uses it for web content that loves it, but for me, it was like the same time, if not more, spending putting it all together. But then I saw someone else on LinkedIn saying that they used it to, like, if they've got a prospective client that books a call, go and Google them or their website, get their ABN, like their business number, get a bit of, an information summary about what they do, who they are, where they're located, and then put it all together in a document with some questions about what we can ask in the initial meeting. So then it's like, it's just all there ready to go kind of thing. And I thought that was a really cool use case for it too, where it's like automating these kind of basic tasks. It seems to work well for like information scraping or collation and automating kind of basic kind of tasks rather than something more complicated or substantial. But I think that's where the AI agents will come in when they're sort of ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're ready to go
Well,
now. I mean, there's a bunch of platforms out there. I just haven't really played with them. I look at like the
right.
list of like the things they do, and I'm like, I don't have a sales team. I don't do like I'm not taking like inbound sales leads all the time or anything like that. It's not really a big problem at the moment. I have thought about setting up like a social media influencer, like a fake one. So every day it generates like a reel script or something, and it automatically turns that into a video, posted on social media. I just haven't gone around to it. On at least for what I want to promote, it's not probably not the best fit. So,
Hmm.
but I
Yeah.
have thought about it.
There's I'm sure everybody will be thrilled to know there's AI OnlyFans models now. And like people
Yeah,
like AI influencers, like it's super interesting to me that people will knowingly as well, like follow an AI like OnlyFans model and interact with them. I mean, I guess I'm not
crazy.
that surprised because I interact with ChatGPT so much that I'm like, oh, it's my friend, or my therapist. So I could see how people might do that with, say, OnlyFans. But I just think it's super interesting to see. Yeah.
Shit's wild. I saw something the other day. It was like there's some picture of a girl turned up on Instagram. I'm like, that's got to be AI. Like it's too. There's something about. I was like, that's fucking AI. So I go to the profile. There's nothing in the profile about it being AI. And even people in the comments were not mentioning AI. And then she had I think I don't know if it's a she, it's probably a he, but there was no OnlyFans. They were just selling, I think, fashion. So it was like a picture of this girl wearing certain clothes. Then you go and buy the clothes or something like that. Maybe the OnlyFans is coming down the line. She was pretty small. She only had 4 something thousand followers. So not very big. But the amount of comments on there of like people like, oh wow, you're so pretty, you're so cute, blah blah blah. I'm like, you you guys can't. I don't know. It still blows my mind. I'm like, this is ridiculous. If these people know that it's AI and they don't care, they're like, oh, this is really nice. She's really beautiful.
They're still commenting.
People are weird. I don't know. I don't know. In this case, it wasn't explicit whether it was AI or not. But I'm pretty sure it was. Uh,
Right.
so who knows?
Yeah. Who knows where the future is? Do you think you'll ever get around to doing your AI influencer, or it's just kind of like a pipe dream?
I mean, for the time being, there's other things I'm working on.
Right.
Like what this AI stuff. There's just so much stuff going on, even in that space. I have a couple different businesses I'm building. One client that I'm working with, and I try and spend a fair chunk of my time, doing jujitsu, lifting weights, studying Spanish. I don't. I try not to work too much. um,
Hmm.
you know, so I don't. I doubt the AI influence is going to be happening for me. I don't really care that much. Even the idea of like making like a fake some hot girl influencer and setting up an OnlyFans, like, oh, cool. Like it just sounds so empty and pointless. So it's not really my kind of thing, but I'm aware that people can do it.
Right. Right. No, that makes sense. And then I guess, final sort of question would be, which I have the answer, but I want to see what you're going to say, is what's kind of the silliest or dumbest way or funnest way that you've used ChatGPT or AI?
I mean, the funnest way. This is probably what you're thinking of too.
Hmm.
And this is not. This is not. This is pretty well known. I think if you've been around this stuff for a while, is getting it to roast someone.
Mm. Yeah.
Whether that's and that could be. We've done it with each other. We did it with our housemate here, Sean, where we basically give it a list, give it a bullet point list of 5 or 10 or 20 things about someone, and then say roast this person in the style of say Ricky Gervais. That's a pretty cool thing to do. I mean, it's not always super funny. It depends on what like the facts you give it. It does need some
Hmm.
context, but sometimes it's amazing. And sometimes I'll do that with like if I want to be sarcastic and mocking in an email about say meditation, it can come up with some pretty funny stuff that way too. Like so, it's you would think because it's an AI, it's a robot, it's going to really struggle with humor, but
No, it's
it's
really good.
pretty good at it. It's better than me at it. It knows all the formulas and the jokes and how it works.
Hmm.
So, but I would go through and you could roast someone, or if you get it to write out a bunch of jokes or funny titles, go through it. They won't all be funny, but there'll be a handful there. If you get it to generate 30, there might be 2 or 3 things there that make you laugh out loud. That's probably the weirdest, most pointless, but also most enjoyable way to use it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of too, is yeah, getting it to roast people or like when you're writing a sales page, like getting it to write these funny metaphors, like what was it? One of them was like as uncomfortable as a vegan at a barbecue or something.
Yeah, shit like that. Exactly.
So good.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like I find it really good for, similes and metaphors. Yeah, really, really much better than I could come up with, in terms of the creative side of it, or the idea generation. And then I remember watching a video, I can't remember who it was of, and they were talking about how, was it during COVID? No, it mustn't have been. It must have been, no, I think it was during COVID. They, but this wasn't using AI. They did a stand-up comedy show together, like a husband and wife, and they just did stand-up comedy to each other, and I thought that was really cool. And then I said to you that we should do a stand-up comedy show, and you can use like ChatGPT to write out your script, and you get a 5-minute cap, and then you have to present your jokes. And I mean, we haven't done it yet, but I still think that would be really fun to just you can either scour the web or you can use ChatGPT or whatever, but you have like say 5 minutes, 10 minutes to like do like a couple minutes stand-up show with a bunch of friends. I think that would be a very fun use of ChatGPT for sure.
Another one that I thought of is there's been this, I don't know if it's still going, I haven't seen any in a little while, but like this trend on Instagram where someone would, it'd be them in ChatGPT saying, show me a picture of a vegan at a barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would generate an image. And then it would, they'd escalate the prompt each time. And then so it would say the prompt and then the image. So the first one would be, give me a picture of a vegan at a barbecue. And then it will give you an image. Pretty benign. And they'll be like, okay, now make the vegan like an extra militant vegan at the barbecue. And then they would, show the picture, and then it would keep escalating. Okay, like make this vegan the vegan of all vegans at a really big meat eaters barbecue. Okay, now make it like the biggest vegan on earth at the barbecue. Like, what would that be like? Are they freaking out? Like, what's going on for them? And then eventually it's like the biggest vegan in the Milky Way and the biggest vegan in the universe. Like, keep escalating the thing. Absolutely pointless, but just an interesting use of ChatGPT. And they would always have this this epic orchestral music. I think Requiem for a Dream, maybe, or there's a really famous like orchestral track, movie soundtrack that would go over the top of this. It was just really funny. It's just
Cool.
silly, stupid, bit of a trend that went around.
That's cool. No, I like that. That reminded me of like I was playing around with the image generator in ChatGPT, which is I think a relatively new feature in the last sort of month or two. And our mum is doing obviously keto and intermittent fasting, so I wanted to like cheer her on. And so I like was like, oh, can you make me like an image? Like I tried to find a meme first about like a funny meme about keto or intermittent fasting, and there was just nothing like for women. And so I was like, oh, I go to ChatGPT and I can make one. So I made her a meme, and I was like, like this is what she looks like, and this is what I want her to look like, kind of thing. Like it was almost like she's in a superhero pose, and just crushing it. And then I added the text afterwards because obviously ChatGPT doesn't do text very well on images. But it was so much fun. And then I did one for her friend as well because they're both doing keto and intermittent fasting together. So I just had so much fun making these memes and generating these images, which was like really cool, like customized memes that you can send to people in a card or wherever. I had so much fun making it. I was so surprised. It's just almost like being creative, and having fun. I think, it doesn't have to always be so like work focused or output focused. It's like, just have fun with it, just roast somebody or make a meme or whatever. I think that's a big piece that I really like, is just the having fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Debunk something, like that's something I enjoy reading about. Tell me why this thing is wrong.
Right.
There's a ton you can do with it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's kind of a good place to sort of wrap up. You've kind of gone through my questions. But if people want to find out more about you, where can they connect with you or stalk you online?
Best place right now for this type of thing is dropdeadcopy.com. So like copywriting, dropdeadcopy.com.
Cool. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing your wisdom, John. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure everybody else will too. And thank you everyone for listening.
Thanks for having me.
Hopefully. Well, if they
Bye,
don't,
Ellie.
bye,
Bye,
John.
sister.
Ciao.